Quill Volley is the strongest build in the game. It has the highest damage, great mobility and great defense. There has been a couple of changes in patch 2.02 and the build has changed a little bit. Today I will teach you how to transition from your fresh level 60 character into your endgame monster, and I will tell you about the changes that has happened to the build. Welcome to Goblin-Inc. I am Ace of Spades. First, let's talk about the changes. Touch of Death is no longer the strongest build in the game. Quill Volley is. The TLDR is that unyielding hit aspect being nerfed affects Touch of Death more than Quill Volley. So, you guys might want to know, but what do we do after level 60? It's very hard to transition into this build. First of all, I will talk about 3 types of content. I will show you that the effect of Tree of Whispers is very powerful. Look at the loot from Tree of Whispers when you complete it in just Torment 2. It's a lot of loot, so I would always advise people to always clear your Hell-Tide Tree of Whisper quest right away and complete it. Second all is do Infernal Hordes as your fresh level 60 to obtain uniques, but also most of all a lot of great and many Paragon points, which are gonna be come in handy for the second content that you have to run frequently, which is gonna be pits. Pits should be run at whatever speed you can finish them in 5 minutes. If you can finish them in 5 minutes, that's the level of pit you should be running. 4 minutes also is very fine, 3 minutes great. Don't do long pits, it's not worth the time investment. So why are we doing this? Well, let's take a look at Infernal Hordes first. The loot from Infernal Hordes is very good. It will give you guaranteed uniques. Also, you will get a second chest that has crafting materials and also gems in it. Pits will provide you level to your glyphs, a good chance of getting ancestral items, and obols. Obols are very powerful, as if you go to the merchant, which I will show you now here, it is possible to acquire items for a fairly cheap price with a good chance of getting them uniques. This is important because after you've run this content for maybe a couple of hours, you should have one or more of those unique items, or at least an idea where to get them. If you do not have those items, I would suggest that now we take a look at how to obtain them first. Starting with the boots. The boots are the least important item, but also the most important. Why? Because they provide resistances to elements. And with those boots, Rakanot's Wake or Yen's Blessing, either of them are fine, whatever you find, you will be pretty much resistance capped in every world tier. I am resistance capped in world tier 4 with my right hair buff up, and my poison resistances will be capped in combat with a Spiritborn passive called Anti-Venom. Very powerful boots to have, this or Yen's Blessing. We then are gonna talk about Harmony of Ebewaka. This item does not need to be maxed out, does not need to be ancestral. Do not obsess over it. Now we're gonna talk about the 2 main items, the Ring of the Midnight Sun and the Rod of Kepaleka. Starting with the Rod of Kepaleka, this item doesn't really matter if it is ancestral or non-ancestral. Look at the also resources, the aspect portion for me is 1.4, it's not great, doesn't matter, whatever you get, you get. Ring of the Midnight Sun is a little bit more important, because it has, as you can see, 47%. This is about as bad as it can get. Let's take a look at it. With 47% resources from this ring, it means that I regenerate 47% of my resources. I need 100%. To obtain 100%, I need resource generation on my ring, on my amulet, on my vigorous node, all 3 points, and on my paragon board. For my third board, I've chosen sapping so that I could obtain opportunist for more resource generation. This is because the ring is not particularly good, as it is not maxed out aspect. So now you know how much you need to get. This is gonna be obtained from Gregor. Rakanot's Wake and Yen's Blessing can be obtained from Infernal Hordes and Jan's Blessing from Lord Zir. Both of them are very easy to find through obols. Harmony of Ebewaka is from the Beast in Ice, and Rod of Kapaleka is from Duriel or Indariel. Okay, now let's take a look about the aspect and some tips on how to get this build online. First of all, I will show you my mistake. My biggest mistake was to get an Ancestral Amulet to start. I will suggest you guys to go for a normal Legendary Amulet with armor. The cost of upgrading items, tempering, enchanting is incredibly high for ancestral items, and you should be starting your journey with normal legendary items so that they can be modified to satisfy your needs with the correct aspects, the correct tempering, and the correct stats. That's why I prefer to start my season like this with mostly legendary items. Uniques being ancestral are perfectly fine, of course, and preferable. So I would suggest you find an amulet with total armor on it. Unyielding Hits is on the amulet because I get more value for my armor. I can cap my 1,500 bonus weapon damage more easily, but it is not optimal for a perfectly optimized late game build, which I will show you guys in a day or two. The rebonding ring, Quill Volley rebonding aspect is necessary. Resource generation here, boys. Let's get it. Last offensive aspect, I like Moonrise early more than the block aspect, because Moonrise is technically less damage, but the attack speed and the movement speed make up for it, especially when you are less geared. Tempering, basic damage is the best one. Source size, I couldn't get the vortex size I wanted. Let's talk quickly about the aspect on the pants, then we're gonna talk about the runes. Sorry, on the chest. Disobedience and Juggernaut for more armor on or 2 defensive slots. I like to run as much total armor as possible, so I temper it. And I like to run Barrier Generation or Vortex Size, and at least one Vortex Size in my gear, because it helps with grouping enemies, and Barrier Generation, as well as my Amethyst Gems for Barrier Generation on my gear, I use them because I have this right here. Pock Q, a combination of 2 very strong runes, which I spend my resources 300%, so 3 cast, and I will get a Earthen Bulwark for free. Earthen Bulwark will be pretty much 100% barrier with some barrier generation, which makes it really powerful, as you will continuously refill your HP bar that way. In combination with that, I run Seer Cry. I like to have Vortex on my toolkit because I cannot have it easily on my action bar due to having Soar instead. I like to have both Soar and also to have Vortex so that I have both mobility and the ability to group enemies. It is important to me that the build is smooth like that. And that is for the runes, and I will suggest you guys try to get your uniques if you can ancestral, that's fine, and keep the other items legendary for the time being. Those are for my aspect. For the last 2 gems, I have intelligence and dexterity. Those gems simply, whatever stats I need to cap on my Paragon board, because early game you're not gonna have all the points in the Paragon board, then I will use the gems that give me the stat I need. So if I need a little bit of intelligence, I will use that gem. As you can see here, I'm a little bit short on intelligence, so I have to use a gem for that. Simple as that. Anything that I don't need, I use barrier generation because I like thick barriers. And remember, Gorilla Spirit Hole does not get affected by barrier generation, so you really need to stack up your Bulwark high. Eventually, Gorilla, as the main Spirit Hole, will be removed, but that's for the endgame build I will not show you today. Today we're going to talk about more like the mid-game endgame build, which is still destroying Torment 4 on day 1, so I think that's good enough. Jagger as your second Spirit Hole. For abilities, we take a quick look and talk about them. I take Quill Volley, of course, with advantageous Quill. And I take Balanced Exertion for more damage with Vigorous for resource generation. I like to take my Vortex knocks down enemies because I like to run my Dominant with it. Enhanced Soar with move speed because I'm not move speed capped yet in the early game, so we run that. Ravager. Then we run full points in Armored Hide. I run my counterattack that I get passively from my Ring of the Midnight Sun. Remember, you get the counterattack passive effect for free. So I also get Scourge with Adaptable Scourge for Life Leech. It's our only source of Life Leech, so it's very important. And it gives us a 50% damage multiplier. It's very good. Anti-Venom is a great way to cap your poison resistances. Dominant goes well in hand with the Vortex. Resilient is very strong, 5% HP per point. Potent and Furnace for damage. And then we have more damage passives here. Very important, especially Supremacy. And we have the Hunter maxed out because I need more cooldown reduction for it at this point in the build. And here I have Prodigy's Temple. For my Paragon, I will give you a better and more optimized version on the link down below. The reason why I have my board this way with Managerist and Sapping so early is because I needed the extra resource generation to make my build functions early. As with everything, it is important to learn how every part of your build works so that you can adapt yourself. If you don't want to adapt to yourself, that's fine. That's why the link below has, a perfectly lined up planner. But I hope that in this video, being able to show you the choices I've made and why, help you understand how to maybe modify your build a little bit by yourself on your own, so that you can adapt to every situation you encounter in Diablo 4. I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for the endgame build, which is gonna blow your mind. I promise that. See you on the next one.